Die? Frederick whines. Die? And what then? Maxim jerks his head upright, now irritated beyond reason by the Emperor's voice. Well, sire, he says slowly, gazing at the ceiling, there'll be mourning, a period of great sorrow across the whole city. People will stop to remember the great Frederick and celebrate. They'll make... Maxim hesitates, inspiration deserting him. He looks down and finds the Emperor scowling at him. They'll make... Yes, sire, says Maxim. They'll make... boom boom. Boom boom? Frederick asks. They'll make boom boom? What in heaven's name do you mean? A celebration? Fireworks? Is that it? Is that all I will have to show for my time? Maxim lifts his head to the Emperor, opens his hands wide, and for once is at a loss for words. Frederick rises to his feet. Even standing, his short, skinny frame remains dwarfed by his towering throne. He points at Maxim. They will not make boom boom because I am not going to die. Not ever. I will be 100, and then another one after that, and then another after that. Do you see, Maxim? Do you? I am the last of the line, Maxim. You know that as well as any. I have no kith, Maxim, no kin, no offspring, nor progeny. If I die, the chain is broken. The end is reached. The empire will have no emperor. There is only one answer. I am not going to die. You, my loyal servant, will see to it. I am not to die, and you are going to make sure of it. Maxim hesitates. The old emperor is a fool, and he is a liar, too. Some things cannot be forgotten, cannot be hidden as easily as Frederick would like, but Maxim doesn't dare tell him that. But, sire, No, it is no use. I have made up my mind. Either you find a way to make me immortal, or your own end will be swifter than you might believe. Now get out of my sight, and find someone to carry me up to bed. You have no idea how bad it is for me, sitting on this throne all day. No, sire, says Maxim, his hand already pulling a bell rope. And don't forget, find a way to make me live forever. Or... And Maxim watches with a familiar prickle of horror as the feeble old emperor whisks a skinny finger across his own throat. The city. The place of obscured memories. Chapter 1. The city froze hard that winter, iron cold and stone still. When the snows came, they settled in to stay. It had started with snowstorms that seemed as if they were angry with something, as the wind whirled snowflakes down onto the city's filthy streets and crumbling buildings. It had started in the last few days of the year, as Boy and Willow had been swept along by the magician Valerian in his ultimately futile quest for survival. Then, early on New Year's Day, the fury abated, but still for day after day, large fluffy flakes of pure whiteness drifted gently down, covering the muck and the mire, hiding the decay of the old city beneath a thick layer of pristine white youth. The snow obliterated broken slates and chimney stacks, removed all traces of dilapidated walls and rotting window sills, and laid a clean and soft white carpet along every alley, street, avenue, and parade that was renewed every night. It was as if the snow was trying to purify the squalid city, or at least hide its evil under a shroud of forgetting. Each night the old, horrible, and grim was replaced by something new, young and beautiful. But there was a price for this rebirth. It was cold, bitterly cold, and the city froze deep and deathly still. With it, something inside Boy froze too. Too much had happened too quickly. Valerian. Boy couldn't even begin to think, to understand about Valerian. He could barely feel. He struggled to order, let alone comprehend, the events of the dead days at the end of the year that had just died, taking his master Valerian with it. And beyond Valerian's death there was what the scientist Kepler had said, right before the end, the thing that had tormented Boy's brain ever since, the truth of which still lay obscured. That Valerian was Boy's father. The new year that had just begun had hardly been a few hours old when Boy's one comfort had been taken from him too. Willow. Chapter 2. "Come, Boy. It's time." Boy turned for a moment from the window where he had been watching the snowfall. He had been trying to watch every single snowflake's path to earth without knowing quite why he was doing it. He was almost obsessed. Every flake that fell hid the dark horror of the city a little more, hid the horror and dulled the memory. If it went on snowing, perhaps the horror would go too. His attention drifted back to the snow. "Boy," said Kepler from the door, "it's time to go." Boy turned to his new master again. "Time for what?" Kepler came into Boy's bedroom. It was a small room, simply furnished with a bed, a chair, and a washstand. But, after the tiny space he had slept in at Valerian's house, it was luxurious. Boy had not yet got used to it, and woke frequently through the night, feeling exposed and vulnerable, as if death threatened. But maybe that had little to do with his new room. Kepler joined him by the window and put his skinny hand out to touch Boy's shoulder, but Boy flinched and pulled away. A scowl crossed Kepler's face as he drew back. "For the funeral," he snapped. "You do still want to go to the funeral?" Dumbly, Boy nodded. "Is it the 5th already?" he asked, but Kepler ignored him. "I'll meet you in the hall in 5 minutes," he said, and left. Boy was already watching the snow. The 5th of January. Corpse funeral. Boy couldn't believe 5 days had already passed since Valerian had died. There should be a funeral for him too, thought Boy. But then there was nothing to bury. "Just 20 more flakes," Boy said to himself, "then I'll get ready." He watched the intricate dance that each flake made as it fell, trying to guess which way it would go, whether it would miss the top of the garden wall, or whether it would change direction at the last moment and make the foot of snow that capped the wall one flake thicker. After a while he began not merely to predict, but to try to influence the journey of each flake, pushing with his mind into the frozen air outside his window, though he knew his imaginings were fanciful. "Boy! It's time to go!" Boy dragged his gaze away from the window, grabbed his coat from back of the chair, and ran to the door. "I'm coming," he called. He didn't want to miss the funeral. It wasn't so much that he wanted to bury Corp, the director of the theatre where Valerian and Boy had performed. He had been murdered a few days before Valerian's own demise. Boy had liked the fat old director well enough, and felt he should honor him by attending his funeral. But that was not really why he wanted to be there. He had spent enough time in graveyards recently to last a lifetime. The real reason was Willow. Boy hoped she might be there too. 5 days had passed since he had seen her last, but those days had been a long, clouded dream in which he had struggled to control events and failed, unable to think or act clearly. Kepler had sent her away. Just a few hours after Valerian's death, Kepler had returned to them where they were still cowering in the ruined shell of Valerian's tower room. "Boy, you will work for me now," he had said. "I have made preparations. Go to my house, wait for me there. Willow, come with me. I need your help." But it had been a trick. He did not need Willow for anything other than to leave her somewhere and come back without her. Boy had shouted at Kepler when he discovered what had happened. So timid and cowering around Valerian, Boy had found no trouble being angry with Kepler, no fear shouting at him. "Bring her back!" he had screamed at his new master, who stood slowly